potential clients who were really interested in working with me. And that's how I got started, because from that blog, Creative Ramblings, I got the opportunity to become a social media trainer and social media coach. So I actually taught classes in social media 101.
Okay. And so, and of course, I saw that, it led to you writing a book about blogging, basically.
Mm-hmm.
So, can you share about the process of writing a book?
Oh, it's I find I'm a unique writer in the sense that I'm very very slow. So my answer is not a very generic answer that everyone should follow. Basically, my advice, because I am a very 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 slow writer. So usually, this is how things start. I'm very inspired when I'm taking a shower. Go figure. Every time I'm in the shower, I have ideas and titles that pop in my mind. It's like crazy, tons of ideas. So I always keep a notebook close by and a pen, and I always write the ideas, and I'm ready to go. So usually for me, the idea comes at the same time as the title. So if I do not have a title, I cannot start working. So I may have the greatest idea in the world. At least I feel that it is the greatest idea in the world. But if I do not have a title, I cannot get started. It's just like any blog article that I will write or guest post or anything. I need a title. It's crazy. So afterwards, when I have the title and the main ideas, I basically write the outline on a piece of paper on the computer, whatever is closest to me, and then I usually go with the flow. I know when I get started, but I never know when I will be finished. And even though I have a deadline, I always give myself deadline. I never follow them because I know my writing takes detour, because I kind of like, letting my mind do the talking basically. So I really, really go with the flow. So some projects can take years and others can take a couple of months. But usually when it comes to writing blog articles, it takes me 8 to 10 hours to write something that anyone else would write in maybe 2 hours. And many people have asked me if it had to do with the fact that English is not my mother tongue. French is my mother tongue, but no, it's the same in French. I'm a very slow writer, so I'm the kind of person who likes to go with the flow and improvise. But at the same time, the thing that is really funny is that no matter what kind of detour I take, I always end up on my feet, which means that I always follow the ideas that I have on paper, but it takes a lot of detours sometimes.
Wow. Okay, so basically, what I'm hearing is that you're in a sense paying attention to detail. You want to make sure that it resonates with your
Yep,
readers. Basically, is that
always.
correct?
Always. You know what, and that's a piece of advice I give to everyone, even bloggers, authors, anyone. I said, the best thing you should do is always have an ideal persona in your mind, or a name. Every time I write something, I have someone's face in my head, or I have a name in my head, or I have an ideal persona. That way I keep the focus on the kind of people I'm trying to target. It really helps, and it had helped. It helped for my blog, because 9 times out of 10, the kind of people I was targeting reacts to the content I post.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That's really interesting to hear there,
Hmm.
because it's it's like at the same time, you're listening to what your audience is saying, and in a sense, that's going to transition into my next
Yep.
question. How important is how is social media, especially like for listening to what your audience is chatting about?
Well, if you had asked me these questions a few years ago, I would have answered it's absolutely essential. Nothing beats social media now. social media has changed a lot, and I've noticed Twitter in particular, it's become like a one-way street. It's not just like businesses. You know how we reproached businesses with using social media as a one-way street like for a very long time. Now it's really become a one-way street with everyone. On Twitter, for example, I see a lot of people posting content but never responding to others. So I would say now that social media is a great complement to your offline strategy. And there was a few years ago, you could be very successful by only being online. And I was only online for a few years, and it worked great for me. People found me and so on and so forth. Now you have to work with the offline world again, like it used to be before social media was became that huge. And it's mostly because there is so much competition, and not just competition, low quality competition. There is so much of it out there because people are like, I'm going to open an account, I'm just going to post tweets and Facebook posts and so on and see what happens. There is no strategy whatsoever. So it's never been harder to be noticed. And even if you have a good strategy nowadays, you're not even sure you're going to get the attention you deserve. So a few years ago, I used to recommend blogging to everyone who asked me. Now I tend to be a little more careful because, for example, if you're a local entrepreneur and you're not really interested in spreading your wings beyond your city or area, you don't really need to blog. And I see it in my city, for example, Winnipeg is very, very word of mouth. We use social media, but not businesses are not used to connecting with audiences through social media. They're used to connecting with them physically. Basically, people come to the store, and social media has not taken up that much in my city, in my area. So that's why social media has to be a complement. You cannot rely on social media only for your strategy. And even for blogging, to get back to blogging for a few seconds, things have changed a lot. I was discussing that with a fellow social media pro the other day, and we agreed really that the need to blog is not even once a week anymore. We used to recommend, blog once a week, blog as often as I can, blah blah blah, but it's not what works anymore. People, there is too much content, first of all, and people now want detailed posts that go in depth into a topic. So you do not need to post all the time. You can only post once a month, but there needs to be a certain depth to what you write. Your posts need to be longer and to delve more in details into what you're trying to say, and it's a trend that has been going on for less than a year. So yeah, I would definitely say that social media is fantastic if you know how to use it, but you cannot just rely on social media to get noticed. You also have to get back to the old-fashioned ways to get really noticed, which is papers, newspapers, magazines, and so on and so forth. And word of mouth is taking off again, I think.
Well, okay, all right. I I guess I want to delve deeper into this now because it is really interesting to hear because I agree with the fact that it's a lot of no, a lot of people on there, but at the same time I kind of see that as if like when you said a lot of content, it's like everyone is just posting and it's like a lot of noise and they're not really focused on the customer, basically building trust. So can you explain more in depth about that, like a little bit further?
Okay, I don't think I heard everything. Can you
Okay,
repeat the question?
like can you explain in depth about this with social because it's like it seems as if now like like for example we've seen the phrase influencer marketing happening at the very moment. So can you explain in depth about social?
The whole influencer marketing, I don't really like it, to be honest. Because when we try to become influencers, we're trying to be people we are not. Instead of relying on what people say about us, because who is an influencer? A person who influences others. By trying to be that, we're not focusing on the right things. We're not focusing on the audience per se. We're not listening to what the audience is trying to say to us. So for me, as social media on its premises is fantastic. I remember when there was the earthquake in Japan. I saw so much support. I saw so many people connect with one another. There were real communication, positivity. We're sharing the best and the worst of what could be seen over there. But it was really, I mean, for me, the best of what social media could bring, the best of what humanity could bring together, how we came all together through those platforms to communicate in a way that helped others. That's what social is to me. So when I hear the whole thing about influencer marketing, I don't like it because it's all like, I want to be an influencer. I want to be a thought leader because. So instead of listening to what other people have to say and why people consider influencer, we're focused on us. So for me, social media has turned into something that I don't really like anymore because it's all about look at me, look at me, look at me, I'm great. Instead of focusing on what can I help you with today? How can I be of service to you so that we can build a relationship and build a two-way relationship that makes everyone happy at the end of the day, because my clients pay my bills. So if they pay my bills, I'm going to do what I can to help them, because at the end of the day, it's because of their recommendations, because of the way they think about me, that I'm going to get work. And I don't do social media because I want to be recognized or I want to be acknowledged as the best and so on and so forth. I do social media because I want to connect with people at the human level. I want to build a relationship with them. And I've made very, very good friends out of social media. My goodness, I've met great people. I mean, you and I have followed each other for a long time. We don't talk often, but we see each other in Twitter chats all the time.